Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make our cascading crystal earrings. These earrings feature an assortment of Swarovski crystal bicones and crystal pearls in a beautiful array of colors. So let's take a look at the products and tools we'll need to make them. Okay, for this project, I will be using 4mm Swarovski crystal bicone beads in Indicolite and Aquamarine. I'm also using 4mm Swarovski crystal round pearl beads in light gray, powder almond, vintage gold, and the iridescent Tahitian. I'm using the 5mm and a 6mm iridescent Tahitian crystal round pearls. I'm using a 2mm silver flat oval cable chain. I have 28mm silvered filled flat wire circle components, and I have a 12mm silver filled ear wire with a large front loop by Tiara Cast. And then I've also got 24 gauge 2-inch head pins with a little 2mm ball. For my tools today, I'll just be using chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, and some wire cutters. You can find links to all these beads and supplies in the description below. So let's get started. Okay, so to begin our cascading crystal earrings, what I want to do first is to cut my length of chain. So I need 2 pieces of chain that are 15 links long. So to do that quick and efficiently, I take a head pin and I'm going to take my 6 inches length of chain here and just string the head pin through that last link. And then I'm going to just take one that I've already pre-cut here for 15 links to use as a measure. So I'm just going to kind of show you there. It's like, so then you'll just hang that straight down and you just like measure across. It's kind of hard to show you on camera, but you just measure across and you can use that as your little measuring there. So there, I've got my 2 15 links of chain. So at this point, I'm going to set one aside and I'm going to take an ear wire. And I'm going to open the loop on the ear wire just by grabbing it with my chain nose pliers and moving the loop to the side. I'm going to take my 15 links of chain and going through the last link on the chain there, I'm just going to slide that onto the loop on the ear wire. And I'm going to go ahead and close it so my chain does not fall off while I'm constructing the rest of my earring. So as you can see on this earring here, the component also sits on the ear wire, but it's kind of cumbersome to do all your wire wraps with the component on. So I find it's best to add all your beads to your length of chain and then add your component at the end. And then that way you're not fighting the component as you're trying to do your wire wraps. So I've got my little chain here on my ear wire. So I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So I put 1 bead on each length of chain here. So what I'm going to start with is a 6mm Tahitian pearl. So I'm going to grab a head pin, and that is the iridescent Tahitian pearl that we're going to start with there. So I'm going to grab a head pin. I'm going to grab my bead. I'm going to slide it onto the head pin. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab the head pin right above the bead, and then I'm just going to bend at a 90-degree angle so that I have a nice bend there. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to put it in that bend. And I want pretty little loops because I kind of want a delicate feel for this earring. So I'm going to be pretty far down on my round nose pliers. So got it in the bend. I'm just going to grab that wire. I'm going to roll it back over the top of the pliers, not taking my pliers out of the loop. I'm just going to rotate them, and then I'm going to continue to wrap around to create a loop. So see there, I've got my little loop. So then I'm going to take that loop and I'm going to slide that on to the last link of chain before I finish wire wrapping it. So I've got that on there, on the last link of chain there. So then I always like to take my chain nose to hold on to the loop there. You want to make sure you're grabbing both sides of that so it's stable. And then I like to take my round nose just to help me do a nice consistent wrap. I'm going to grab that tail and then I'm just going to wrap the bead down. And I like to wrap about 3 times or until you hit the bead. So I have that there. Then I just take my wire cutters and I do a nice flush cut as close to the wraps as possible. And then I just take my tail and put that aside. And if you need to tuck in your tail, you can always do that with your chain nose. This one has just a little guy because you don't want anything sticking out. You want it to look nice and finished in there. And there, so we've added our first bead. So that link is done. So now I'm going to go up to my next link and I'm going to do the same thing with a 4mm gold pearl here. So again, I'm just going to take a head pin. I'm going to pick up my bead, put it on my head pin there. I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab the wire right above the bead. I'm going to bend at a 90-degree angle. So I've got a nice bend there. Then I'm going to take my round nose. I'm going to put it right in that bend, making sure to be consistent to put it in the same place every time so that you have nice consistent loops. It also sometimes can help to do a little like Sharpie mark on your pliers if that is helpful for you so that you find the same spot every time. Then I'm just going to roll my wire back over the pliers, not removing them from the loop. I'm just going to rotate and then I'm just going to continue to roll to create a loop. And then I've got my nice little loop there. So then I take that loop and I'm just going to put that on the next link of chain above the 6mm pearl. Because we're just putting 1 bead per link of chain here. So I've gotten that on there. I've grabbed my chain nose. I'm grabbing both sides of that loop. Being careful not to grab the chain because you don't want to smash the chain because it is pretty delicate. Then I like to take my brown nose, but you could also just use your fingers to grab that tail, and then I just start to wrap down towards the bead. About 3 wraps, or until you hit the bead. And I take that off, and then I take my wire cutters, and I'm going to cut my tail as close to those wraps as possible. And then if you need to, you can always take your chain nose and just tuck in your tail. So that's kind of how you start that. And a lot of times I find when I'm doing clustery earrings like this, where you just have like a lot of wire wraps, I'm a big fan of the assembly line. So what I already did is I prepped all of my beads. And how I did that is I literally just put my bead on the head pin and I did the 90-degree bend and I created my loop, but I did not attach it to anything. So these guys are just ready to go. And I find it just kind of goes a little bit quicker on your project because then you can just you just pick up your bead and you just have to wrap it on there and you just have to use less tools. So I went ahead and already pre-prepped these. You don't have to do this. I just find on clustery earrings or bracelets, it's just a great way to kind of just make the project go a little bit quicker and stuff. So I've got my first 2 beads and then I'm going to use my pre-done ones here that I've already made. So my next bead is going to be the 4mm Indicolite. So it's going to be a crystal bead. So I've got my like little pre-done guy that I already did. And then going on to the 3rd link from the bottom, I'm just going to slide the loop onto the chain there. And in the same fashion as I did the other ones, I'm just going to grab my chain nose, grab my round nose, or you can use your finger, and then I'm just going to wrap it down towards the bead there. And then take your wire cutters, and then you're going to just trim your tail there. As close to those wraps as possible, taking care not to cut your loop. And then if needed, you just take your chain nose and you tuck in your tail there. And if you aren't very familiar with wire wrapping, we have a great video series on basic wire wrapping with a head pin. So you could always check that out for more in-depth information on that. That's a great little video to watch just to kind of brush up your wire wrapping skills. So in the same fashion that I've attached these first 3 beads, I'm just going to continue adding 1 bead per link to my chain here. And after I finish that, I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I went ahead and I added the remaining beads to my chain here. So again, for this chain, it is 15 links long, and there's just one wire wrap unit per link of chain. So to start, just to go over the pattern again, let's starting at the bottom. On the 15th link, we have a 6mm iridescent Tahitian pearl. On the 14th link is a 4mm vintage gold pearl. On the 13th link is a 4mm Indicolite Bicone. On the 12th link is a 4mm iridescent Tahitian pearl. On the 11th link is a 4mm powder almond pearl. On the 10th link is a 4mm aquamarine bicone. On the 9th link, we have a 6mm iridescent Tahitian pearl. On your 8th link is a 4mm light gray pearl. On the 7th link is a 4mm vintage gold pearl. On our 6th link is a 4mm Indicolite Bicone. On the 5th link is a 5mm iridescent Tahitian pearl. On my 4th link is a 4mm powder almond pearl. On my 3rd link is a 4mm aquamarine bicone. On my 2nd link is a 4mm light gray pearl. And then on my first link, or my last link there, is a 4mm iridescent Tahitian pearl. And that is also the same link that has your ear wire on there. So as you can see, I have not added my wire component yet. And the reason I didn't do that is because it was much easier to add all my wire wrap beads to the chain without the component. That way you didn't really have to fight it. So I need to go ahead and add my wire component at this time. So I'm going to do that in the same fashion as I added the chain. So I'm going to grab my component, and you're going to pick up your ear wire, and you're going to open your ear wire with chain nose pliers, just like you did when you added the chain. So grab your chain nose pliers. You're going to grab the loop on your ear wire, and you're just going to push it or move it to the side. Then you're going to slide on your wire component, and then using your chain nose pliers again, you're going to just close the loop on the ear wire. And your wire component is just going to sit right behind that chain. So you want to make sure too on this earring that you make sure that you take really good care to close that ear wire so that that loop is connected with the front part of the ear wire, because this chain is very delicate and fine, and it can easily slip off that ear wire if it is not completely closed if you happen to sit down your earring. And there you have it. The beautiful Cascading Crystal Earrings. I was really happy with how these turned out, and we hope you love them. You can find all the products and tools for this inspiration design at fusionbeads.com.